All right, this is the last video from the logo series. This one is, I think it's a doozy. It's definitely the coolest one, and will take the longest time to render because it's an animation. But I think it's one of the coolest. So we're breaking down this scene, this animation, how we created all of it. So this one's going to be really cool. One, if you have never seen me go outside of Blender to create an asset for Blender, this is a cool one. I'm jumping into After Effects to create the flat portion of the animation, but After Effects is not necessary. You can use Premiere. You can use a different program. You might even be able to use Blender Sequence Editor. I've never touched it. We're going to be building the scene in Blender, building a room. We're going to be exporting some UVs to make sure that the video actually formats properly. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can apply into a lot of other projects in this one. This one is very client work applicable, I think. So let's get into it. So first is a very simple part of the scene. So I'm just going to hit S5, and then I'm going to hit Shift D, and we're going to get our floor and our ceiling like this, and I'm going to hit Shift D, and then I'm going to hit RX90 to get the back. This is the room. It's very simple, nothing complicated. I did not want to overcomplicate this particular scene. We're also going to get a cube, and this is going to be our screen. So we're going to squish it in and then make it the proper size and format. And then we're going to bring it back. Something like this. And it's too small. Cool. And if I'm not mistaken, it was actually flat. So I'm just going to go ahead and separate it. Separate selection. I'm going to delete this. And we'll just throw a solidify on it to bring it back to where it was. This is just going to make projecting easy, and the whole process I did for that, you know, relatively unnecessary, but it will make, at least will make my life a little easier, and I like that. So we're going to keep it there. Maybe bring it more toward the middle. That looks nice. Let's go ahead and get in some reinforcement for this. So we're going to go ahead and get, where's that? Get a cylinder, maybe give your vertices 64. Make them pretty skinny. Cool. And then bring it back. Something like this. Cool. And then we can bring him to the edge. Like that. And then I'm going to hit Alt-D because these are all going to be treated the same, so I might as well just make them instances so we can just throw one material on everything. Can I do this? Sure can. All right, let's see. This guy, make him like that. Cool. All right, I like this. All right. That's pretty much the whole scene. Let's go ahead and shade it. Let me show you guys what I did there. If you saw the video, you know I used a real-time materials material, but I'll also show you how to build one in case you don't have the add-on. If you do have the add-on, it's one of this new one, this concrete, and then you can play with the color, you can play with the scale, and I applied that to everything. But if you don't have that, I really don't want to leave you hanging. So let's just build a pretty simple concrete material so that you can have something to work with. So what I'll do is, let's get a color ramp. The basis of a concrete material is very simple to set up in Blender. You're going to need a noise texture, and then we're just going to have that node wrangler set up. So something like this, and then we're going to scale it up. Detail to 12, roughness up like this. Maybe bring that scale down a little bit. And then we'll apply that, Control L to link everything. So we'll get that. we'll go ahead and apply that to our roughness. So let's get more space. And then I'm going to go to cycles to view this. It'll be a bit more realistic because we are rendering this in cycles. So I like to shade in the engine that I'm planning on using it in. So we'll bring it like this. See how it's shiny there? We will fix that. Something like this. That'll work. And then we'll get some bump. Very simple stuff. And you can see how, and what I like to do when I'm playing with bump is to use this HDRI, and that is going to really accentuate those portions with the holes. And then we're going to bring our distance to 0.1, and I'm going to bring my strength down a little bit. Let's see which one we'll make this slight difference here. Will that look good? That should look good. And then looks like this background, does it have it on there? Yeah, it's just really bright. Okay. So we can do this for the concrete material if you don't want to use or don't have real-time materials. Definitely don't want to leave you hanging, but this will really get you all the way there. To keep it consistent with the video, I'm going to go ahead and use that material and then apply it everywhere. There we go. And then you can scale up. Let's see the cross scale. That looks really good. Okay, cool. And then we're going to go ahead and you can throw a simple metallic material on here. What I like to do is use the basics. Again, when I'm doing Patreon tutorials, I'm not using add-ons. I'm not even using my add-ons. This is one of those rare cases where it's just sort of a special project video where I'm showing you my whole process. Typically, I like to build every single thing from the ground up for these educational videos. So now that we have this, the room is pretty much prepared. I do want to go ahead and add those pillars like I did in the video. So we'll just go ahead and do that. We'll model those. So we'll get a cube. I'm going to hit the tilde key and make that anchor point to the top so that we can just make it easy to model. Let's see. Bring it. Honestly, you can go through. I'm not too stingy about that stuff. Cool. And then I'll hit Alt D. And then if we want to have a gap right there, cool. Control A, apply that scale, and we will bevel. We'll bevel these guys because light is going to be reflecting off of them, so we need to do that. I'm going to copy, Control L, copy modifiers. Okay, cool. Now what I can do is take this guy. We'll copy materials. In fact, no, that's not really going to look very good. We can go ahead and actually use that concrete material. I'm going to go ahead and use that concrete material we built. That'll make our life a little easier. And then what we'll do is go to edit mode. See if I can just spot, I'll just hide it. I'll spot this top face, get a new material, assign it, so then you can see it's working there. And then you can just go from principled to emission, then make it red. Cool. So now we can view it in cycles. And there we have it. Those pillars with the lights, which look really cool, but we're actually going to go pure red. that's going to look a little bit cooler for this scene. So there we go. We have the scene built out like this, and then we can just add an emission material here to just kind of show, hey, what is it going to look like? Similar to this. All right, so now what we're going to do is the external part, which we're going to go outside of Blender for this. So I'm going to hit Tab on the screen, the LED. I'm going to hit U and project from view. And then we're going to go here to UV editing, and I'm going to make sure that he fits within this square. We're just going to kind of move it by hand. Then what you can do is you can click on UV, export UV layout, and then I'm going to do, say, 1280 by 1280. And then keep it as a PNG. And I'm just going to call this make sequence. And we're going to hop into After Effects. So we'll get a new composition, and we're going to make it 1280 by 1280. And if you don't have After Effects, I would still encourage you to watch this portion. If you are a motion designer, you will probably come up against something where you're going to need to edit externally. So the idea around this, I think, is very, very useful, even if you don't have After Effects and can't follow along here. You can even use one of the open source or free programs. I'm not doing anything that is exclusive to After Effects. So when I was designing this, the whole idea behind this animation, at least the flat portion that is going to be played on the LED, is very fast, communicate speed. It's like a mock Nike run campaign. So it needs to be fast. Fast cuts, Nike logo, just kind of brand awareness looking. So I'm just going to import all the assets that I used for it rather than scouring for them real time. So let me find my logo video folder, and we're going to go here to the assets. And in this case, let's just go ahead, find the PNGs. Cool. And then here we go. So we'll import those guys. And then we will import this whole folder of pictures. So I'm going to kind of show the idea. So first off, we're going to need to get a layer new and a solid, and we're going to use a white solid. And then make it under it. I still want to see the screen. This is the UV. So anything in here is going to be showing on the screen, and that is kind of the idea. So let's go ahead and get, let's see, that's the sequence. So we'll get the Nike logo. I'm not going to copy exactly the animation that I created for the video, just because really I just want to show the idea of what I was trying to do. So here it is. I'm going to start small, and then I want it to cut quickly to big. So we'll do that, and we'll make it only a few frames long. So we'll do small, and then we'll cut to it being, well, if it's going to work, and then cut to it like here, and let's see how that looks. And then I want it to be about the same. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we're here, and then what I want to do is do a line of 3 of the logo. So let's scale him to be right about here. I'm going to hit, we'll move him over to get this position variation. I'm just going to move it by hand. I don't care if it's a little off, you get the idea. And then we can look. Bump, bump, bump. And then let's make them scale. I did do like a really cool scaling, like easing scale. I'm trying to remember exactly what I did. Probably that. There it is. Okay, cool. Okay, it's fine. You get the idea. And then we'll do a really quick cut. So we'll go into this running folder and start adding the running images. And then I want to make them all black and white. You can just kind of move it around so that it's just the image. So let's hope that two 2 frames is short enough to make it look cool. Let's hope. And we'll just do each one. Obviously, you're free to skip ahead. We're already at 20 minutes on this, but that's okay. That might be too short. Let's see how this looks. Yeah, okay, so 4 frames. And we'll do one more to finish. So we'll take one more image. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll do the blocks. So this will be the longest portion of the video. So it looks like we're at, what, 2 seconds? You kind of get the idea. The other one was much longer, much more intensive, but to kind of communicate the idea. That's the finished piece. We're already at 22 minutes. But here's what's cool. We're almost done. So we'll go File, Export, and then we'll go to the Media Encoder. And I will see you in Blender. I'm going to export this guy out. So now we're back in Blender, and what we're going to do is just go ahead and throw an image texture onto the emission material that we made. Open it up and go ahead and apply that with my messy desktop here. So we got that, and then I don't really know how many frames it is, so I'm just going to put an arbitrary number, start frame of 1, cyclic auto refresh. And then if we press play, so I can tell you now, this is a 66 frame animation. So we'll go back to the shading tab until it's 66 so that it'll loop for us. So now we can see it's animating, and then we can raise the brightness a little bit, but we don't want to do too much because then we will start to lose detail in images, and we don't really need that much detail. And then what I could do is we can add a color ramp and introduce just a little bit of color, make it kind of blue. That'll make it more fun. And here is our scene. We'll bring our brightness to black, and then I'm going to get a camera. We are almost done with this whole project. And say, you know, bring the focal length wider. And then all we have left to do is to animate the camera. So what we can do is kind of bring it back. And then let's go ahead and make sure that this is linear. And then it looks like it's the y-axis. So we'll do 120 frames. So we'll just kind of bring them up a little bit. And then we'll do 120 frames. Go to here. So now we can see he's going forward. And then you can also, to really sell that cinematic feel, you can animate the rotation. So now it will animate like this. So the screen animation isn't super interesting just because we did it so quickly and didn't have a whole lot of thought process for it, because I was just kind of showing you guys the idea. And then all we have to do is render it. So we'll go ahead and render the image. So this is the finished rendered image. It looks cool. Again, not perfect just because we sped through this and really wanted to show you guys the idea of how to accomplish something like this. So again, definitely go back and fine tune it. But overall, this is how something like this is made, how I created mine. I mean, I love it. I went in and color corrected it in post, gave it a little bit more contrast, gave it a little bit of a vignette to really sell that look. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'm sure you got some cool stuff out of this that you can add to your own projects. And looks like my camera cut off because we're at the 30-minute mark, but I will see you guys in the next tutorial.